Hi guys, welcome to Working Designs Collecting Tips Episode 3. Previously I've focused on the loot that's come in a couple of the Working Designs games, like the package like stickers and maps, etc. To if you want to consider your games completely complete, or whatever, complete a box, whatever nonsense you want to go down, whatever your analytic nature is with collecting. In Episode 2, I focused on the cheaper titles that were a little bit easier to come by via eBay, and some that may still be in your local game shops. In both those episodes, though, I have briefly touched upon the Working Designs, accessory, merchandise, whatever you want to call it, what they used to sell through their mail-in forms back in the day, and when the website was around, they eventually started selling through the website. And what we're going to focus today is on this little piece of paper right here. This was a pack-in that came in with the games before the website went up, and it was basically a mail order form that you could send away to get shirts, posters, watches, pins, mouse pads, hats, whatever you want to name it. They had to offer at the time. Now, today, in this day and age, you are going to find that if you want to collect or you're interested in titles that Working Designs put out, and you want to find the accessories that they put out with these games, in this day and age, they're extremely hard to find. They're very rare, but that does not mean that they're expensive as well. They're just not on the marketplace like they used to be. For instance, pins that they offer with their games routinely do pop up on eBay. Anywhere, depending on what pin for what game. They can go anywhere from 10. Sometimes I've seen them going for $80, more so depending on like the Lunar games and whatnot, and if they're still sealed and or opened. But like I said, each time something goes up on eBay, I've said this in the past, it turns into a different beast. But today, let's just take a look at this advert right here, and you can see, hopefully pretty well, the different accessories that they offered at the time. This is the pack-in that came with Dragon Force on the Sega Saturn. So you can definitely see at the time, the website was not up and running completely yet. And even after that, they did offer for a short time different accessories. Some of the harder to come by things are actually the shirts. Very rarely have ever seen in the last couple years Working Design shirts sold. The most commonplace items I have seen sold off their accessory list are pins. Hats, never seen one. Never seen a Working Designs hat. As I previously mentioned, shirts, I've seen obviously once in a while a Lunar shirt. The polo shirts, not the screen printed shirts and whatnot, especially the Sega CD days. I've actually only know one collector that I network with that actually has those shirts. Like I said though, these are a different beast than the games, but I'd like to touch upon this in this episode. I'm going to show you a couple of items in a minute here. But the reason I want to touch upon these items in this episode is because I've said it in the past. Working Designs at the time was one of the only publishers in North America that put out these types of accessories, these add-ons, this stuff with their games that made them so special. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I remember the Super Nintendo days when Square actually, sold posters through their mail-in order forms for like Secret of Mana and Final Fantasy 3 or 6 or whatever you want to call it. The soundtracks and etc. I remember mouse pads and shirts as well. But Working Designs from the very get-go, and with Kadash, they had T-shirts and posters ready to go. And depending on the title, they're very hard to find. The older ones, extremely hard to find with poster-wise. But I just want to touch on a couple of the pins, and obviously this beautiful shirt I'm wearing right now. But just to show you a couple of the items that they had to offer at the time. So first and foremost, I'm going to start off here with a couple of pins, and I want to show you guys a comparison between the two. First up I have here is a Ray Crisis pin. Now you can see how beautiful that is. This is actually an opened pin, but this is what they had to offer with their merchandise store. Next up would be a Ray Crisis pin, and this is how you tell. It's very cheap, but it's how you tell it's sealed. All of them, the majority of them will say they're released in this made in China bag with a staple in it. And that's basically how you can tell them. And I have to throw these next two in there because I just want to show you some of the collectors, the difference between these two pins. These are for the Lunar Silver Star story, the Silver Star Complete. So as you can see, the one on the right is the Sega CD pin. And this one on the left is the PlayStation 1 pin that was released with Lunar Silver Star story complete on the PlayStation 1, obviously. Now, next up will also be what I always found to be very unique items sold through their store. That would be watches. They actually made a lot of watches and for their games, like the pins. And it's pretty interesting because very rarely do you see these watches pop up these days. And interestingly, back then, they went for around the $35 mark. But no, I mean, I've seen some of the Lunar watches go well over $100 nowadays, and they're not even working condition. So as for price-wise, it's always hard to say because eBay, like I said, it's a you know how the site is. Any book collector knows how that site is. One day you can get a great deal, the next day it's way, way overpriced. Well, guys, I know it's not much, but that's what I had to show off today, just to give you guys a scope. I'm sorry I can't come forward and say price-wise or anything in my own opinions because they fluctuate so much. Like I said, a lot of these items are extremely rare, but it doesn't mean they're expensive. But it just depends on what people are looking for at what times, and that will determine the price. And as for posters, well, I would love to show you off some posters, but we're going to save that for another time. So take care, guys, and thanks for watching.